I didn't want to be the guy that dropped the ball on Star Wars. Jude Law took drastic measures to stop Skeleton Crew from becoming the Acolyte. Hey guys, Element of DYAD in the Force. So we have a new article about Skeleton Crew, specifically Jude Law. Now, I wanted to cover this article not because it's a credible source, Fandom Wire, but because I wanted to make a point about how divisive the Carpet Nugget Kingdom is and how Carpet Nugget this publication is. I didn't want to be the guy that dropped the ball on Star Wars. Jude Law took drastic measures to stop Skeleton Crew from becoming the Acolyte. Now, depending on which side you fall on, it's either rage baity AF or, wow, Jude Law thinks the Acolyte sucked. The problem is the original interview and article happened over on Variety, and it has nothing to do with the Acolyte. And this is the reason I wanted to cover this article, because Fandom Wire is the most carpet nugget of publications, but to also expose the tactics these sites use that in turn becomes a source for rage baiters and other cocklebursts to cite, and thus the source loop is born. For the sake of brevity, I'll just tell you, just like I said, the Variety interview had nothing to do with the Acolyte, and the comment to that effect comes from Fandom Wire's editorialization at the end. From Law's words, it is evident that he underwent intense preparation for his Star Wars debut, ensuring that it won't be another The Acolyte-like disaster for the space opera franchise. Now let's look at the Variety article. Jude Law's triumphant return, the actor on Star Wars Secrets going full frontal, Marvel, and Ripley homoeroticism. Now you can already tell that word alone probably scared off a whole bunch of cocklebursts. Now scrolling down to the interview, he was asked about his role in Skeleton Crew, to which he said that he didn't say yes until having several long conversations with John Watts. Quote, "I don't think I would have dived in willy-nilly. I wanted it to be right. I didn't want to be the guy that dropped the ball on Star Wars." Harmless quote. This was the preeminent quote used in the Fandom Wire article to paint the picture that he had any semblance of the Acolyte in mind when he said that. Clearly, Star Wars is a massive undertaking for any actor. Exhibit A, the fans. But of course, you'd be hesitant or almost reluctant to join just any project. And Jude Law is within his rights to approach with caution. But again, that quote had nothing to do with keeping Skeleton Crew from becoming another The Acolyte. Any actor would want to make sure that the project that they're in is the best it could be, and his comments are harmless in this regard. Now, there are some really cool tidbits from this interview. When asked about his character Jude Law, he said he refused to do what he calls acting with a carpet, which is basically fake hair. He goes on to say about the filming process for Skeleton Crew, it was a really interesting process. It's technically complicated to get those things right. You're dealing with animatronics and puppets and machines and huge complicated worlds. I'm the guy that wants to see how the wizard does it. He then goes on to say it all has to go through the Star Wars filter. Like, there are no buttons in Star Wars, only ties. Buckles, yes. Velcro, yes. Although I don't think you ever see the Velcro. And then he starts to talk about the cinematography of Star Wars. There are certain shots they don't allow you to do if you're the director. You can't pass through the glass of the spaceship. You have to stay on the outside or inside. I love that. You see the shot and go, oh, I'm in Star Wars. Of course, being a Star Wars fan, the interviewer asked, how does it feel to have the Force? And of course, Jude Law said, who says I've got the Force? So there's a lot to think about when it comes to Jude Law from Skeleton Crew. Anyways, it's a great interview. I highly recommend you visit Variety to read it and not Fandom Wire, but I wanted to make an example of these crappy ass publications that set up shop on Squarespace and act like journalists, suddenly misrepresenting quotes and mischaracterizing sources. Go straight to the interview, go to the source, do not read from these obvious rage bait titles. And now that I've exposed this, you will never comment on one of my videos again, an article that came from this website.